It's week 5 of Moon Knight here on Infinity Rewatch. And that also means it's week 5 of still no Marvel board game. I don't know, at least on my end. Ryan, how is your end? Please tell me the postman has been kinder to you.
The postman's on standby for me because my order is planned to ship out in June.
June.
So as long as everything is kosher, just gotta wait one more month and we're good.
Okay, all right. The time frame is good. I do have an update. I was lying a little bit when I said it was all quiet. I got 2 emails today from Canada Post, 2 tracking emails. So if all goes according to what they say, I think a few episodes back here in the Moon Knight thing, I guessed that it was going to show up on May 4th because like that was the last day of Moon Knight and everything. If all goes what Canada Post says it will, it looks like it might be around there. Right now it's saying estimated arrival Monday, May 2nd. So everything is really slow right now. So I'll give it a couple days leeway. It might end up getting here on May 4th. Maybe in a perfect world, get up, I'll watch Moon Knight, and then I'll hear it ring at the doorbell. Wouldn't that be nice?
That would be really nice. I think that would be a delightful surprise for you, considering if we talk about schedules, that we're not. Okay, here's the thing. If we're talking schedules here, you're going to get Moon Knight and Doc Strange next week, back to back. So you're getting Moon Knight on Wednesday, and it's my favorite kind of week, people. Moon Knight finale on Wednesday, and then Doctor Strange premiere on Thursday. And you'll get your board games, and then you're on hiatus till Kenobi, which is at the end of the month.
Damn right. Yes, it would be. That would be just a sweet week. And I mean, there's no better way to celebrate Star Wars Day than with a bunch of Marvel stuff happening. Like that's
exactly.
So on that note, next week's going to be a little bit more cluttered, but in a good way for people who like to listen to
double feature.
Double feature! Put us on your car radio, drive with your sweetheart to Makeout Point next to the drive-in movie theater, because we have a double feature that is better than whatever your local drive-in theater is playing. Probably. I don't know what's out right now, but ours is probably better.
What, right? Sonic? At Sonic, you're gonna go see Sonic?
You can go see Sonic too?
Really fast? You know, I don't despise that movie. I'm actually being honest here. I do not despise it. I think it's really cool, and it's really fun, and it's really family all joy, and he goes really fast. But freaking Doctor Strange.
Sonic 2, though.
If you're listening to this podcast, it's not as exciting as watching it live, because really, right now, I almost took my laptop with me on a trip.
One day you will. One day the laptop will hit the ground, and we will keep going, and it'll just be a shot of your ankles for like 45 minutes, but it'll be an amazing shot of your ankles.
That's it.
Sonic 2, man, you are missing out on some fun. It is a really.
Am I missing out on him going really, really fast?
He goes really, really fast, and then there's another part where he goes slightly even faster than that.
I already have a feeling of how that franchise is going to play out already, and I haven't seen the sequel yet, but I know how it's going to play out.
Well, at the end of the movie, and the credits, Samuel Jackson shows up, and he says, "So I want to talk to you about the Smash Brothers initiative."
That is a way better outcome than what I think.
And then Chris Pratt opens the door and he's like, "Hey, it's me, Mario. You wanna join me on my adventure on the whitest Mario ever made? Hey, it's me." That's my Chris Pratt voice.
I'm actually kind of expecting now that it may not be that film, but I feel like that's coming. I feel like they could do a video game universe and pull a big Smash Brothers thing. I honestly think that can happen. I believe it. I do.
I really do think they are going in that direction, especially because they're really trying hard to make those characters look like those characters, right? All the Sonic stuff looks beautiful, and from the sounds of this Mario movie, it's going to look like the games too. Maybe, I don't know. It's been delayed, just like every other thing ever that has tried to come out in the last 2 years. So who knows? But yeah, I think you're not wrong. I think that's exactly what they're going for. And then
I didn't even say what I was expecting. You're the one that threw out the Smash Brothers. I'm just agreeing with you.
And then they all team up and meet Moon Knight, because that's what happens. Everything's connected now.
But going back to the important thing, double feature!
Double feature! So you take your sweetheart to that hill on Makeout Point, and you listen, because next week, Thursday night, we record these Moon Knight episodes Thursday nights, because that's the way our schedule works. So we are going to record Moon Knight, and then we are going to step out immediately after that to our local cinema and see Dr. Strong and the multinational corporation of mayhem, or I forget what it's called. And then
multi-corporation of mayhem. I like that. That's fun.
And then we come back to your place and we do the episode for that. And we will post those. I think what we'll do is we'll probably end up posting them a little bit later than normal. We'll see. We'll figure out how the posting is going to work, but that's what's going to happen. So you're going to get a double feature. Prepare your body and soul for that. Just saying. Yeah. Prepare body first. Use shampoo, body wash, and then your soul wash. And then you're covered.
Yeah. I will also say for our fans out there, especially our one of our more vocal and awesome fans, Jonathan.
Jonathan Davis.
Jonathan Davis. I'm gonna tell you now. I just realized Jonathan Davis. That's the name of the lead singer of the band Korn.
It is.
We have a really famous follower.
Jonathan, if you are in fact the lead singer of the band Korn, thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service, indeed. I love your music. I grew up with it. You helped me through some dark times in my teenage years. I'll tell you that much. Anyways, I'm going to tell you now, back to back. It's going to be really awesome. But as a Marvel fan, I'm warning you now. Get off any news reels about Marvel from this point on. I'm warning everybody. Just don't do it. Don't do it. I've seen some posts that have already made me pretty angry. But at this point, it could be like Spider-Man No Way Home, where it's like all the rumors could be true and all of them could be false. We don't know. But at the same time, protect yourselves. It's getting really ugly out there, and a lot of things are being leaked, air quotes, very quickly. So just stop any content, stop watching trailers, TV spots, all social media, turn it off. Don't look at anything Marvel related unless it's from us. But seriously, I'm warning you. I am warning you now. It's bad. It is really bad out there already, and I'm excited. But at the same, if some of these rumors are true, I'm very excited. But at the same time, I've been spoiled a few times already, so I'm pretty upset.
The things that you've seen, without naming names or pointing fingers, are you talking you have heard / seen things beyond what the trailers have shown? Like leaks or something, or like things that are like, oh, I wish I didn't hear this. This is not an officially
one yes. One yes is a leak that's not been in the trailer. Another one has been about obviously the biggest topic is Xavier in the trailer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Patrick Stewart's played it pretty smart. He's like, a lot of people are able to mimic my voice pretty well, but we know it's him. That goes without saying. But there's further discussions as to his involvement and backstory in this movie. So it's been getting really ugly very quickly. So I'm warning you now. Spoilers are out there. They're out in circulation. Turn off your social media now, unless it's from us.
Exactly. Spoilers are the worst. Having said that, spoilers are ahead for Moon Knight episode 5, everybody. Let's talk about the pregnancy hippo.
I can't pronounce her name for the life of me. I really want to. I was really going in with homework done on this episode. And I was like, Tweet. I think that's her name, but I don't want to get it wrong. I feel so bad.
Her name's Conway Twitty. No, her name it's pronounced. I believe it's pronounced. Oscar Isaac said it the right way in the show. Tawaret.
What? Yeah,
Tawaret or something like. Pregnancy hippo.
The
If you're
hippo.
listening,
Pregnancy
I apologize.
hippo.
I apologize profusely if I said your name wrong. Please don't judge my soul to be of less than adequate nature and throw me into these sands of everlasting torment, like you did to our friend Steven. But let's not jump too much ahead. I think off the bat, I should say this might be my favorite thing Disney Plus has given us in terms of Marvel since that episode where Wanda makes the town from her grief and misery. I think this might be the best thing since that.
You could not have set me up better, because I was actually ready to do I was ready to do an episode where I would just rant the entire time, but you actually set me up really good. And now I don't even have to rant as much. So what I'm going to say is I couldn't agree more. This is definitely one of my favorite episodes of the entire Marvel cinematic, Disney Plus universe here. And the interesting thing to me is when you think about the X-Men cartoon, why do you think you like it so much? Let me ask you that.
Oh gosh, and I think about it a lot too, more than I should. I think that's a great question, man. For me personally, I think it's because there's, first and foremost, back then, it was so novel to me because I was aware of the fact that all of these shows that were on Fox at the time were connecting. Maybe not super often, but they were. It was happening. It was built that way. And that blew my mind. And also there's just something about the design, not just of X-Men, but of all of those series, that was so bright and colorful and exactly how I wanted Marvel cartoons to look. So the just the aesthetic of it combined with, oh my God, it's all part of one thing. That made me fall in love with it. And then to top it all off, it was a pretty mature show for back then. So we got to kind of feel like big kids when we watched it. We were like, yeah, this show's not about boogers like the rest of the stuff I watch.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's exactly where I wanted you to land. I was watching that arrow hit the target. Is the maturity, is understanding that the emotional weight of these characters. Like we've seen Wolverine's origin story 1,000 times. Like we've seen it in the cartoon. However, why we still love it so much is the pain he goes through. Like when they abandoned Morph and hit the pain of him abandoning his friend, like that kind of pain. The pain of Cyclops losing Jean, losing a loved one. Like these emotions, they drive home, and they find a way to, maybe we haven't had these emotional experiences, but they find a way to give you that empathy, that connection where you're just feeling for this character. And I love how you said, we haven't had an episode like this since like WandaVision technically. And it's true. And I think that, you look at the different shows that we've had with Disney Plus thus far, they haven't pushed the characters enough to a point of like loss and grief that like could really be bigger. Because like Falcon and Winter Soldier, I mean, Cap didn't necessarily die. Like he decided to live his life that he deserved to have. And, and then Bucky and Sam are stuck together, because they both have this important friend. But WandaVision, like Wanda has lost everybody in her life. She lost her brother, she lost Vision, and then she gets kids and loses them all at the same time. And she's lost Vision twice now. And she technically, because she recreates his memory and then he dies again.
Right.
And then on top of that is she recasts her brother So she gets her brother back only to lose him again and find out that he's fake. So she loses everything again. And at that point of all loss, she just self-actualizes and becomes the Scarlet Witch. And it's just it's just so that's the Marvel comic book moments we live for. Is like
Yes.
at the lowest point, these characters are subject to the biggest change. And I love that. That is like one of the best storytelling mechanics you could have when it comes to hero stories. And that's what really resonates with me with these characters, is that the whole idea is that like when all hope is like completely lost, this person finds a way to change and adapt to become better. And that, to me, solid storytelling.
Yeah, you're right. That's when they're at their best. Like, why do so many people love Spider-Man 2 so much? Because it takes Peter to his absolute lowest before bringing him up again. And it's so funny because this episode made me realize that those sneaky little bastards over at Marvel Studios, they threw a twist into this show, Ryan, that was hiding in plain sight, kind of. When we think, oh, what's going to be the twist of this show or this movie, we're thinking of different things than what this ended up being. And that twist was a while back, they promised us, they said, this is going to be roughly the darkest we have taken the MCU. That's what we've been told. We were set up to expect this. But the thing is, Ryan, dummies like me and the rest of us, all of us fans here, we took that word dark, and you know what we did with it? We attributed it to violence. We attributed it to, oh, he's going to beat up some folks. He's really going to get violent, messy, and bloody. No. They pulled the wool over our eyes. They're right. It was the darkest that it ended up being, but it was dark from a psychological standpoint. It was dark from a standpoint of, oh my God, this is awful. I can't believe this character had to go through this in this big, colorful, family-friendly, series we've all been enjoying for the past decade and a half now. I can't believe there's now a character who is a big part of it who lost a brother as a child and was verbally and, let's face it, physically abused by his mom, who blamed him for it, and it ruined his life and fractured his psyche. That is what they meant. And I love that. I wish I could go back and find those quotes because I want to know how carefully worded they were. But I love how they said it in a way that every single one of us, because we've got one-track minds sometimes, is we were all like, ooh, yeah, he's going to beat up people like the Punisher. It's like, no, that's not the kind of dark we're talking about, but you don't know that yet. And that just, it took this episode to show us that. And when that clicked for me, it blew my mind, and it nudged Moon Knight right up there with WandaVision for me now, for like the two best that they have done on this platform.
Absolutely, man. I mean, you're right. Because you know what? Technically, it's not our fault. It's their fault, because every time they say dark and tragic, when they say dark and grounded, that's what they mean. It's like a dark, violent, very noir kind of experience. But when it's done right, it should be tragic. It should feel you should feel like you're in a dark place, and you need to crawl out of it with the character. You need to endure with the character. And that, when you have that moment, that when the character finally rises above, you start to feel like you could rise above something. And that, yes, to me, that's the good kind of dark I like. So absolutely right. And this episode is a brilliantly constructed, fresh origin story. That's what this was. This is a fresh take on an origin story. And it was fun. And what I like about it is I got what I wanted. I mean, they've checked off every Moon Knight box I've wanted in this entire miniseries here. Is they made him feel insane, and they still make you question if he actually is insane, which is brilliant. Which is, the mental asylum is so good. It's so smart. And then we jump into it. Now, the funny thing is we go through the different rooms, the memories, and there's a moment where even I got fooled, and I almost thought we got a Jake Lockley moment, because they keep kind of painting the picture a certain way for comic book fans. They're kind of like the streets of New York kind of thing, and he's around cars, so maybe he's going to be like a Jake Lockley. But no, actually, what I kind of like though is they really focus on the construction of the personalities and like of the character, as opposed to just kind of like, again, just fully on being like, well, he's Steve Grant, he's Jake Lockley because he has multiple personality disorder. No, they went deep into this and they're like, okay, this is why he has it, and there's obviously a traumatic experience of this.
Oh, dude, that's going up there for me for like some of my favorite moments in this franchise. That gasp moment of the mom is banging on the door and he's like, this isn't happening. This isn't happening. He looks up and he sees that poster for that god awful movie. And he just kind of, something snaps and he's like, oh, cool, blimey, this room's dirty, isn't it? And it's like, you're not laughing because you realize how utterly disturbing that is to see this kid go through that. Dude, that moment, like I still have goosebumps from it, and I watched it over 24 hours ago. Like that is what I'm talking about. That is how like this story grew leaps and bounds for me right there in that room, in that one particular slice of time. Loved it.
Absolutely. This is this also, what I liked about it too is they did the Spider-Man formula, but the next evolution of it. They don't show you the whole origin story. They don't. They show you the critical moments and make up the origin story, which is perfect. Like if you go back to Homecoming, Spider bit me, I'm now Spider-Man, or Spider bit me, and I had to make some hard choices, and now I'm Spider-Man. Right? Moon Knight is childhood trauma, led me to become a mercenary, and then you literally go to the place of his origin. That's it. Like, and that to me is absolutely brilliant. Like because now you have now created the middle ground for fans to come to the middle and be like, oh, I remember this, and this, that, which led to this. But you also have the people in the back of the theater going, oh, that's really cool. This is a really interesting backstory. I want to know more. And now you meet perfectly in the middle. And so it's perfect. And interesting things here to discuss as we do. First of all, his brother is actually mentioned.
Yes, he is.
His brother is actually mentioned. So obviously they changed it for this story, which I think definitely works in the context, which is obviously kill him. They could pull Winter Soldier and assume he's dead, but he's actually not. We don't know. Because again, as far as we know with this miniseries, they're only planning for the 6 episodes. That's it. That's kind of like his movie, and that's all we need to know. And then we may see him later on. But cool part is we did get the nod of his brother, which was really neat to see. And it was a fun way to tell the story. And then having the Steve Grant thing. Now, the other interesting side of this is we get to the origin story a little bit. And he actually shows, which we called. We predicted this. We predicted this outcome. What did we say? We said it in the last 2 episodes of Moon Knight. We said that they're going to reenact the origin story through his death. And they did. He got shot. And like as when he was shot before. And we go back to the memory of when he becomes Moon Knight. Thank you. My name is Ryan J. Marvel, and that's Infinity Rewatch, people. We're done. Thank you.
That's it. We're done, like, for real. Like, this is the final episode of our whole show. Like, we can't get any better. You're giving me too much credit, my friend, because I think this prediction was all you. I think I'm pretty sure you were all like, this is the perfect place to do it. And you started knocking on Kevin Feige's door and saying, I know you're going to do it next week. And he was like, sir, please leave. My lawyers are on their way. This was the great place to put it.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised that he didn't reveal that he's like my great uncle or like, some relative of some. my actual dad. No, just kidding. I love my dad.
Yeah.
but
Speaking of dads, I thought Mark Spector's dad looked a lot like J.J. Abrams.
He did.
He was JJ. You got a twin out there, buddy. We got a comment here from Argyle Smith. Argyle says this show is getting too odd for me now. Well, my friend, all I'm gonna say is I really hope that you start. I really hope the show grows on you, because what we got coming up is Multiverse of Madness and Love and Thunder, which looks like nothing but oddness for like 4 straight hours. So I really hope the odd grows on you, my friend, because I want you to enjoy these films.
I think the oddness is kind of a purpose, like it's kind of one of those outcomes they want you to have. Because I've noticed this with a few people. A lot of people, like even our third co-host, which we usually have on here every once in a while, which is Anna, she doesn't know why she likes this show. She doesn't know. She likes it. She just can't explain why. And even when I explained what I think would be the reason why you would like it, didn't quite make her go, yeah, that's totally it. No, she was still. But I think that's the outcome of the show, because we're in a phase of Marvel where you now have to question the reality of the MCU, which is poetically brilliant. Like if you think about it, it's so smart. And Argyle, I want to converse with you. So throw another message in the chat. Let me know why you think it's odd and why it's too odd for you now. Because I'm genuinely interested. Because personally, for me, I am questioning the reality of the character, and which I think is awesome. Because I wanted to see that with Thor in like the first Thor movie. Like, is he Donald Blake who just lost his mind? Or is he like an actual god of thunder? Like, you know what I mean? Like they could have played that theme for Thor in the first one, and then the second and third one, and now fourth would have been like the exposure to Thor's world and like further deep dive into it with this more curiosity, as opposed to like, oh, well, Thor is actually a part of a civilization that believes in magic and science working together and harmony. And like, I'm going in with an expectation, whereas I should be going in with curiosity and wonder, because he's supposed to be mythology and he's real. And the best part is Spider-Man admits that. He's like, now Thor, we're studying Thor as if that is no longer mythology.
That's right.
And that's beautiful. So with Moon Knight, what I love about it is like they're playing with the gray area of like, is this actually happening to him? Or is he fractured? Or is he this fractured person who has built this world that is literally nonsense? Like they say it in the show. Ned Flanders says it. He says it's nonsense, right?
It's non-diddly nonsense.
It's not, exactly. But I'm curious if you could elaborate further on why you think it's odd for you. I'm genuinely curious. But going back to the show, that scene, he even mentions Colonel freaking Bushman. He does it. He drops the Bushman name. We don't see him, which we knew that could be an outcome. Totally cool with that. And
I finally looked him up, by the way.
Oh, you did?
I finally Googled Bushman. Yeah. He looks like he reminds, like he looks like he would have been straight out of like a 90s Street Fighter game. Like he just looks like that.
Yeah.
Like you could just throw him up there against Guile and they would fit right in.
Yeah, he's got the skull face thing going, which is really cool. He looks like kind of like a reject Bond villain if you want to get into details, but yeah, so they mention Bushman and they do the beautiful shot of him like dragging his body to the Khonshu statue, which to me, I was just like, I even like, and I love a scene when I go back just to revisit the specific scene as opposed to watching a whole episode, which I did for Moon Knight. In this episode, I watched that scene where he drags his body to Khonshu, and Khonshu is like, will you be my, protector of the travelers of the night and do this? And he's like, yes. And he's like, then rise, my Moon Knight. Yeah, he said it. Oh my God, I love that scene so much.
I think to springboard off that and to tie it back to Argyle here, the odd of it all, I am so thankful that this show is odd. because with all the promo stuff, again, talking about how it's this really dark story. We've never done anything like this before. I was afraid we were just going to get Daredevil with a different guy. And I didn't want that because one, we already have a show like Daredevil. It's called Daredevil. And two, that would be missing out on the huge opportunity to play to the strengths that is Moon Knight, his unique strengths, which are Egyptian mythology. And hey, I have dissociative identity disorder. That could be a really cool thing to play with for a superhero. And if they had just stuck to like, I'm brooding on a New York rooftop and fighting mobsters, then sure, it's more realistic and more along the lines of what we've seen, but it's more along the lines of what we've seen. So I'm really super happy that we live in a world where not only does this show embrace the dissociative identity disorder, but it makes it a beautiful part of his character arc. It turns it into a Marvel moment, and we get a pregnancy hippo giving them a quest to balance their scales. The grade 11 me, who took Egyptian mythology and ancient religion class because I wanted to learn all about that stuff, was jumping up and down because I was like, I know this. I know how this works. And that's why no women visit me when I watch Moon Knight, because I'm usually saying things like that.
I mean, I was also a big fan of mythology. I read some books and all sorts of stuff. I have a book on like the different gods from the different parts of the world. But this show is. But what I like about the show is it's all internal. There's very little external elements to the show, which is, and that's another layer of why this show is so beautiful, is because a lot of the characters in past Marvel content, it's a lot of external, like a lot of things they do have a lot of external effects, right? Like Iron Man's perfect example, right? Rich guy selling off these missiles and then gets caught up between double dealing and all this stuff. And now, through the construction of his actions, he has to become Iron Man and solve all his problems and fix everything up.
And we have Christine Everhart to thank for helping him springboard that.
Right, exactly. But Moon Knight's a very isolated incident. Like he obviously, he lost his brother and everything. But this show is all focused what's going on inside of him. And this character is not a sturdy character. That's what's beautiful about it. Like it's an inward journey, but the inward journey is about a man who's like a fractured mind, and he has dealt with some serious trauma. So that is just crazy. So it's a really good, and again, I love that scene. Oh my God, when he rises up as Moon Knight. And the other cool thing about that scene is you kind of see, if you time it right, you kind of see the Moon Knight outfit, the black and the silver, because there's different layers to the armor. So when he first rises, his as the chest plate comes on him, it's all black underneath his or his suit turns all black. And then next thing you know, the bandages wrap around him, and then he's got the ceremonial armor, which is really cool. So there is that moment as well. But again, just going back to it, it's such a, this moment is such a comic book snapshot moment. The statue, the death, the rise of Moon Knight. It's like such a 1, 2, 3 hit. It's so good. And it sets up the character. And the interesting thing about this episode is not a lot of action. There's not.
No.
It's so good. Oh,
there's action, but there's not that kind of action. There's like this story never felt like it was dragging its feet at all this week.
Exactly.
I love how happy the Moon Knight moment made you feel. I'm picturing like when it happens and when he says rise, I'm picturing you also stand up and you have like a crescent and you're like, yeah. And next to you, Isabella's just on the couch still sitting. She's got like a mimosa. It's a good scene.
There's a thing I do when those moments happen is I sit on the edge of the seat and I lean forward and I'm just like, oh my God. And she just, yes, but you're not wrong about her. She sits back with her, not mimosa, probably a tea, maybe some sort of juice of the Portuguese persuasion, but But yeah, no, it's but similar idea. Similar idea.
Nice. And I love that you mentioned that he's not a stable character, because I noticed something really cool that the director did in this episode. Speaking of things that are not on stable ground, when we cut back to Harrow's office, to Ned Flanders' office, and he's trying to convince Steven that this is real, this office is real, the camera is moving in a manner that makes you feel like you are still on a boat, as he really is. I'm looking at Ethan Hawke and I'm like, why do I feel just a tiny bit seasick? And then I'm like, oh, it's because he's still on the boat. I was really impressed. That was some good, I don't know, I think, is it Mohammed Diab, the name of the guy who directs these?
Yeah.
Good job, man. Good job.
Honestly, I didn't even pick up on that. I wasn't paying attention to that at all. My eyes were on like the character himself. But that's so true. That's really interesting. Little nods there. But I do notice when there's like scenes like before the thing, the directorial thing I noticed is when he's talking to Steven through a mirror or through a reflection, you'll notice that there's always a second mirror or something. Like there's a third kind of mirror there. So which is interesting because, like, for example, the last episode when he talks about him going to get protein, the mirror is cracked. So there's a full mirror and then there's a shattered mirror in the bottom. And then in the first two episodes, there's that mirror with the pyramid mirror right at the end there. There's the one where he looks directly at him, and then there's another mirror off to the side. So there's always like there's a rule of thirds.
It's like the mirror at the end of Split, where there's like the little mirror on the edge there. Well, we still haven't opened that other sarcophagus yet.
Yeah, I don't know though. There's talks in the internet that they're gonna reveal Jake Lockley, but I don't know. I'm not 100% convinced. Because like they could reveal him, but it kind of feels like they might as well just jump straight to Moon Knight, because like this story they've constructed around Steve Grant and Mark is enough for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like I need more.
Yeah, at this point, I don't know if Jake would be necessary. Personally, I'd rather see come out of that sarcophagus is little kid Mark, and Mark has to kind of reconcile with him and heal that wound. And if the three of them can kind of pull together and heal, he can become a more whole person.
Yeah.
And then he can literally rise as Moon Knight and come out of that water in Alexander's tomb and be like, nuh-uh. Because the thing about this episode, I love the way it ended, because even though it's very tragic, in order for this to have a happy ending, now that we know what his backstory is, in order for it to have a happy ending, Steven has to die, or at least like go away, right? Like he has to. He is a creation of torment, built as like a wall. So in order for Mark to become healthy again, he has to take that wall down. He has to lose that. And as much as we've grown to love Steven because he's just this totally affable British dude who just loves talking about Avatar, he is getting in Mark's way as a human being. So this falling off into the sand of zombie horrors, or whatever that's called, kind of needed to happen. Now, I don't know if that's the right way for it to happen. Something tells me it might not be, but we're getting in the right direction.
I think I agree with you. That definitely should play out, but there is another way.
Ooh. Can you tell me, but in Yoda's voice?
No. I definitely can't do that.
Can you at least tell me there is another in Yoda's voice?
There is another. No, there is another. I'm better at Obi-Wan. I love doing Obi-Wan.
You are really good at Obi-Wan.
It's my favorite.
What would Obi-Wan think if he watched Moon Knight? What would he say?
Like, I think Obi-Wan would be like, it would be kind of like him talking to Vader kind of thing, where he's like, you can't win, Mark. I feel like that's the way to do it. But oh man, yeah, I love Kenobi. Anyway, let's get back to the topic at hand here. Here's what I think is what probably will play out. If they use Jake Lockley, which they still can, which would kind of be interesting to see him throw one more personality into the ring. My only issue is we don't have much time with Lockley. We won't. Which, okay, like you can do it that way if you want to. Here's what could happen. There's still another personality or another aspect of loss that you have to deal with. And that is you need to accuse yourself, right? Like Mark accepts what he does. He accepts it. Totally gets it. Totally knows why he has to do it. Totally knows why he did it, right? Steve protects him from blame, right? Because the whole point of Steve Grant is to just essentially ignore, right? Just totally distract and ignore and refuse to accept what's happened. So if Lockley does exist, he's going to blame Mark. He's going to make Mark feel terrible about everything. And then through that mixture, eventually help center him into this person that realizes that, you know what, he's got to come to accept that he's got to somehow learn from each character. You know what, it's okay. Like Isabella said it best. There's a scene where Steven's kind of talking to him, and I think it was just after the origin scene, but he's manipulating you. And Isabella's Steven's got to say to him, it's not your fault. But to get there, he needs to prove that he's learned. Hero needs to prove that he's learned everything he needs to learn to cross the threshold and become this new thing, right? Become the new hero, and this hero's journey, if you will, if you follow Joseph Campbell enough. But so in order to learn that, he needs to cross the threshold. So he needs to prove what he's learned. In order to do that, you need an adversary to prove. And Harrow's not technically the adversary. He's an obstacle, but he's not the adversary. The adversary is himself, because he's avoiding. He's not standing his ground. Even when his mom blamed him and everything, he ran. So it would make sense that Lockley would be a third personality and would be very much like his mother. Very angry, blaming, accusing, and he needs to learn to stand his ground and fight and be the protector of the night. And that's how I think it could play out. But I like your other one as well. Because again, they could not do Jake Lockley at all, and I don't think fans will be too upset. They probably want to see him, but technically you do see him. You see Lockley, and that is Mark. Mark technically is a balance of the two, because Lockley was in the comics. Lockley was an informant. He was played as an informant character. He would be a cab driver, and he would gather information from Mark, and then Mark would be the go-to guy to execute after they gathered and all that stuff. And Stephen Grant, in the comics, was much different. He was a millionaire and he could fund whatever they needed to do. And then Moon Knight and Mr. Knight were, one was full on Batman, dealing vengeance, and the other one, Mr. Knight, is a detective. He would take all the evidence, solve the crime. So it's possible they could not do Lockley, and like I said, it could play yours, which I agree with. He needs to meet his younger self and realize that it's not his fault, or even accept that it's happened and learn to start moving on. Stop holding on to it and let it go.
Yeah, that is very well put. Mark has a lot of learning still to do. By the end of this episode, he has not changed yet, so that still has to happen. there's a third option that could be possible here, and because this is something that MCU is really good at, which is they're great at giving us these characters in stages, like the Hulk. We got the Hulk, we got him classic Hulk, and then eventually we got a little bit of like Smart Hulk, and then we got the Professor Hulk, or we might even see a Mr. Fix-It down like. And same with Ant-Man, we got normal Ant-Man, and then we got him learning how to grow, etc. So we might end up with something like we see Jake, but it's not in this show. It's whenever we see Moon Knight again. And that would be a great little treat for fans, for both the back and the front of the theater fans, because you have something going on, whatever it is, whoever the threat is, whatever's happening, and something happens where it's like, oh, we see Oscar Isaac show up, and it's like, oh damn, Moon Knight's here, and then they're like, hey, I don't know, some Avengers like, hey dude, we heard you're a guy who does things. You want to come help us fight this guy? Probably a little bit better written than what I just said. And then he'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about. My name is Jake Lockley. I'm an investment banker. And then everybody's like, oh crap, there's another one. There's another one. What's happened to him since we last met him? Why is there another one? And it could create this little new sense of drama and do that thing that they've been so good at doing, which is giving us these a staircase method of introducing us to the different facets of one character.
Mm-hmm. And you're absolutely right, actually, which would be fun. I think that would be a fun way to introduce Jake Lockley, like, have like Ant-Man in a cab. And then, the guy turns around and he's like, yeah, where do you want to go? And then like, they could be looking for Mark, or they could be already on a quest, and Mark's on the same quest and he's trying to gather more information, right?
Yes, I forgot about the cab driver thing. That's brilliant.
Yeah, right. So that would be a great way to introduce the personality. And I agree with you. Don't have to do it. You don't have to do it in this series. Do it in another time, because if you look at Thor's journey, Thor has had a long journey to get to where he is today. Mm-hmm. And now he's one of the best and most fun characters in the MCU. Like when Thor 2 came out, I could tell you people weren't as excited to see it. You know what I mean? Like people were interested, but they weren't excited to see it. Ragnarok comes around, everybody wanted to see that. And you can see
every time I see images of what Malekith and Curse are supposed to look like, it breaks my heart a little bit. It's like, really? That we could have got that?
Mm-hmm. But then you get Ragnarok, and you get Surtur, and but Thor as a character is way more fun. Like he keeps losing. Like he tries to do it he tries to do it his way, doesn't work. Tries to do it his dad's way, doesn't work, right? Like, and now he's trying to just figure things out. And Ragnarok is going to be perfect, because now he's like, look, like I need to like get in touch with myself. And so now we're seeing an next iteration of that. So Moon Knight, you're right. Like he needs to learn. Obviously, he hasn't learned whatever he needs to learn yet. He definitely did a lot of learning in this episode, and that's the whole point of the scales, was to balance himself out, right? And just as Steve died, he balanced himself out, which is really interesting. So now he needs to prove what he learned. So that's going to be really good to see. And that's why this next episode is going to be awesome. And I love the cliffhanger. This episode was a great, like, I'm surprised, and I'm actually genuinely surprised at Marvel, because they normally would have like kicked off to him, like, I don't know, being resurrected, and like, okay, I need to find, Khonshu and resurrect Moon Knight. No, that's not what happened in this one. They left him in the afterlife, and that's it. That's all we get, which is perfect.
It's a beautiful ending. It's a beautiful ending to a beautiful episode. I just had a thought. You know what Marvel should do? And I don't think anybody would complain. Maybe like 2 people would complain. But
Go for it.
I'm serious here. You call up George Lucas. Okay, you say, George, we're going to give you a copy of Thor: The Dark World. Can you special edition it? Exactly the same movie, but you just make Curse and Malekith look like this instead. I'd be like, yeah, my people can probably do that, whatever. And then we get the special edition of The Dark World, where it's the same movie. They don't, nothing. You don't affect canon in any way. It's just now Curse and Malekith look better. They don't look like bland, gray orcs. I think everybody's happy. What a better world that would be. There'd be peace on the streets. I think less war. That's what I feel like. That's what would happen.
Honestly, like I look back at Thor: Dark World, and if you strip it to its bare bones story, there's a lot of promise there. There's a lot of promise, and throughout the movie, there's some moments of I'm like, oh damn, this could have been really good, because like they had everything to make it go right. Bringing someone on who did Game of Thrones, genius.
Yeah.
That was a good aesthetic tone for Thor. And then starting to bring in more humor with Thor, genius. Have fun with it. And then Thor having to break out his brother from prison, fun story, genius. But yeah, I mean, overall though, again, I think what really hurts, and that's why, again, now I'm stoked for Love and Thunder, what they're going to do with Jane Foster, because she was, and it's not even remotely close to Natalie Portman's fault. It's just bad writing.
It's not.
She was a victim of bad writing.
Yeah.
And this new Jane Foster is going to be woke. I'm excited, and I can't wait, because she, unfortunately, her character was the weakest link of the entire thing. Yeah. And that's why Ragnarok, she wasn't even in it, and it was amazing. And now Love and Thunder, she's back, and I am curious to see what they're going to do with her. Taika, man, I'm so proud of you. You did it, man. You did it. And so this is going to be fun. But yeah, I'm very stoked. Very stoked.
Yeah, Thor deserved the Ragnarok treatment, and now so does she. So it's so nice that she gets that. And in terms of Moon Knight, we got 1 week left. We gotta play an odds or something. We gotta figure something out here.
Right. So hold on. Bringing it back. So the show has ended with him in the afterlife. He's now in the fields.
Field of Reeds, where we all hope to go one day. A field of reeds, probably swarming with pollen.
Yeah, probably. I would have many allergic attacks there. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So like we said, I kind of feel like we're onto something here with this whole hero's journey thing. He's now learned a lot. Because he even learned in the last episode. The last episode was him learning about his relationship with Layla, and just as he got to a perfect ground with Layla, and Steve was getting a fresh new love life with her, he dies.
Yeah.
And she also finds out what happened to Mark and why he was protecting her the whole time. So that relationship was technically fixed because all the cards were on the table, and then he dies. And then now it's back onto him as a person. And this episode was about him learning who he was as a person. And so now this is kind of like the never tell me the odds moment. So what do we think the last episode is? We mentioned a moment, which is obviously him proving maybe Jake Lockley is totally aspect of his mother. That's you did it. You're a murderer. You're this terrible, terrible person. You deserve to die, blah, blah, blah. And maybe even fights him a bit, which would be cool. Him fighting himself, literally. But we still haven't talked about the episode as a whole yet, as what do you think is going to happen?
Wow, good question. I mean, what I love so much right now is I am so in the dark. I have no idea how, we all saw last week, Harrow shot him in the heart. So it's it doesn't even look like something he can walk off. So I have no idea how. Obviously, we are seeing him going through psychological and spiritual healing, but we have no idea how that is going to affect his physical healing. I don't know if the powers of of the suit give him some kind of ability to be like, oh no, that bullet's coming right back out and I'm fine. But the thing is, he doesn't even have the suit anymore. Khonshu is a statue. So I think it would have to be, if he's in the Reed world or whatever, I think his only option to physically get back out is to find Khonshu there and take him with him.
Ooh, that's good. Oh man, that is good.
Because otherwise, I don't see a way for him to get out of this.
Well, okay, so Pregnancy Hippo Pregnancy Hippo said that you could I could bring you back, but you would be dying again. Like the second I bring you back, you're going to be dying and you won't have much time. So there's that possibility. However, the scales did balance and he was sent. So that to me, that rules it out. I don't think so. My bet is Layla is still very much an ingredient in this whole thing.
Yeah.
And my money's on her. That's my bet. Ever tell me the odds. So I think you're saying that he's gonna find Khonshu in the Field of Reeds. My bet is it's all on Layla. Layla is his last hope.
Yeah.
Because there's two reasons. There's two reasons why I'm betting on this. One, Khonshu said he would pick her.
Ooh, okay.
As his next one. So if she frees him, it's very possible that she could be Moon Knight for a little bit there.
Right.
It's
kind of like Ghost Rider, like it just kind of, whoever because like you said, he is an avatar of Mephisto.
So. Yeah. Well, he's exactly, yes. Ghost Rider's an avatar of Mephisto, and there has been a lady Ghost Rider.
That's right.
I don't know. I'm gonna check right now. I don't know if in the comics if there's ever been a Lady Moon Knight, but again, because there's so little known about Moon Knight, they might have the freedom, at least for her to carry the torch and get Khonshu back to Mark Spector because of his skill and ability. Like, she's a fighter, but she's not a mercenary. Like, she doesn't have military training or nothing. But she's a fighter. She knows what she's doing.
Oh, she killed the mummy.
Yeah, she killed the mummy. So she could break Khonshu out and say, we need to save Mark. And then she becomes like Moon Knight to a point where they get back to where Mark is. And then in order to save Mark from permanent death, arise back to life. Because we know Khonshu can bring him back to life.
Oh yeah, he's pretty much the only thing that can. I think at this point, I think magic is his only way to come back. And I wonder if in the future, this is what's going to connect him to the rest of the world here. I wonder if being this close to the other side is going to draw the attention of people like Strange, of people like Mephisto, of people like Blade or whatever, people who are on the pulse of that or the lack of pulse of that, so to speak. Thank you, folks. Thank you. Thank you. Please hold your applause. Please hold your laughter, please. So there could be like that as a little fun way in the future, even in some like Werewolf by Night, which we still don't really know much about, to be like, okay, this guy, he's not just a guy with a nice suit who fights. Like, he's seen some stuff. He's seen some realms. He has knowledge that very few people do. We need to, use that knowledge. And this could be good people or bad people saying this, which I think could put Moon Knight in some really fun situations further down the road.
Right. Yeah. Oh man, there's possible for sure. Oh man, I'm actually still trying to see here if it's there are some drawings. There are some drawings of a Lady Moon Knight. There are some drawings which looks like that. There looks like that Marvel did, but it's still kind of iffy. Just give me one more second here.
Well, we're in the era right now. I mean, Phase 4 is all about like the ladies are coming. We got Lady Thor, we got Lady Iron Man coming out. Like it is a thing. So that is, I mean, and then Layla is primed and ready to go. So why not?
Yeah. So yeah, no. Okay. So far, I don't have any official knowledge of Moon Knight ever being a lady, but it would be a nice change. It would be a nice change. It would be a nice change of pace if that actually happened. Yeah. I don't know. I think we're both still. I think we're on the right track, and this could. I'm not gonna lie, and which is both exciting and awesome. This could be the closest Infinity Rewatch has ever been to predicting an outcome of a show.
You're right, because usually we suck at this. Usually we're like, and then Mephisto is going to show up, and
I'm telling you, Loki, Mephisto's coming. It's totally gonna happen. which totally didn't. But yeah, no, I actually this one has been the closest because we and I'm gonna say I'm gonna lead with we because we're a team and it takes one to get the answer out of the other. So we figured out that the origin story would be relived in the show, and we checked it. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of us. Good job, us. And so yeah, I'm very curious now to see how this is going to play out. But I think this show is perfect. Honestly, I would love to see the character appear in more things. Do I think he needs a sequel? No, I don't think he does. No. I think this is a perfect character in a nutshell. And from whatever happens here on in, I would love to see him appear in other things, but I don't need him to have more stories and all this stuff.
Agreed. A sequel would feel redundant at this point. It would just feel like a 90s / early 2000s superhero movie where it's like, okay, what villain should we have him fight next? That's not the way we roll anymore.
We don't need that at all.
Changing.
Indeed.
This is when Bob Dylan wrote that song, he was thinking of Moon Knight and how it was going to be, a much more evolved thing than what Hollywood was cranking out before. He knew. He had his finger on the pulse too. Ryan, if people want to put their finger on your pulse, where can they find you?
They can find me always on Twitter at Crusader Online, or you can find me on the Instagram at Ryan J. Whitehead. That's where I post more of my personal stuff if you just want to see what my life looks like. And you can always find me streaming live on twitch.tv/Xbox Canada. What up? Live every Tuesday and Thursday from 2 to 4.
Beautiful. And you can find me on the streaming thing right here. You can find me on Infinity Rewatch and the Rebel Scum Podcast Network and Digital Charcuterie every once in a while as well, where you are watching this. If you're listening to it on a separate thing, but that's okay because we love you just as much if you listen. And you can also find me on Lord Elon's Twit, which is the new name of the platform Twitter. So you can find me twitting there and also gramming on the Insta as another thing that I do as a person who knows how technology works. App is a word that science folks use, so I know it's smart. Anyways, thank you so much. What does it stand for? It stands for apply yourself to our thing, and you can. No, I'm just kidding. It stands for apples, because apples are what Sir Isaac Newton used to determine that gravity was the thing, and without gravity, our phones wouldn't work because they'd keep floating out of our hands. So, app.
Love it. Nailed it.
You're welcome. But that's it for Infinity Rewatch today. Ryan J. Marvel, you have been amazing, as always. Andrew, you've been okay.
You've been amazing, Andrew.
Thank you. Stephen, I think, was the heart and soul of the show, though, right, Stephen? Yeah, you're sure all right about that, mate. I love being on your podcast. You never let me talk, though. Next week, Stephen, I promise. Until that time, Stephen and all of you, have a marvelous day.